Welcome to the Drill Down, in-depth answers to oilfield questions. I'm John Spears.
And I'm Richard Spears, sitting back here with you.
Yeah, I was about to say, glad to have you back, tanned, rested, and ready.
I'm thinking of running for president. Apparently the field's wide open on both parties.
Well, okay. Well,
and the third party.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Well, so you've had some time away. You've been, I hope you've used it usefully and have some thoughts to share with us today. How's that
I do. And it was in an undisclosed location, but I got to tell you, I'm safe. I'm safe, and everybody in my family is now safe.
Good.
And the mean guys have been eliminated.
Oh, boy.
But we all know that
Yes.
drilling activity over the last year plus, it has been down an awful lot.
Yes.
And we also know that every sector in the oil field has been down and hurt quite a bit.
Yeah. So a lot of the usual things that we look to about activity and to tell us sort of where things are going and have changed. We try and stay on top of. That's a fairly dynamic environment to be in, right?
So here's a question for you.
Yep.
If you were going to then invest in the oil field,
okay.
which would you rather invest in? Recognizing that the industry's down,
Right.
recognizing that every part of the oil field is down, which type of company would you rather invest in? A company whose day rate per rig or dollars per unit of effort has been flat during that period of time,
Okay. Right.
or one whose pricing for those services has been really decimated, has been really discounted?
I gotcha.
Which would you
Right.
rather invest in if you knew nothing else?
Well, if nothing else, you'd look to the first one, I think, right? Because they presumably have something going on, whether it's their customers love them or there's some kind of a moat around their business. Something
moat
like
around
that.
the business.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and so as activity begins to then rise,
Yes.
that company's probably going to outperform, or that sector is going to outperform another sector.
Well, you would think that, yeah.
Yep. So one of the things that we do around here, and we've done it for years, is we establish certain rules of thumb. We keep track of everything. In fact, we have the queen of our organization who manages our rules of thumb, which we abbreviate ROT.
ROT.
Is Missy Parker.
Yes.
And Missy spends not all of her time, but a lot of her time keeping those things organized, looking at the rules of thumb that allow you to very quickly measure a market, see how a company's doing versus another company, identify, size up things, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because, you think about this industry, we get rig count every Friday. And as a result, people sort of over-rely on that. Well, we certainly want to take something like a rig count and then say, geez, what does that mean in terms of a market for this widget or that service or whatnot, right? So these are the kinds of things that help us quickly get to those kind of answers.
And one of the things that our loyal listeners and our clients and our friends all over the world are going to hear in the next few weeks is that we're going to make this vault of data and analytics available to everybody.
Right.
Because it's our philosophy here at the firm, which has been since Dad started it 60 years ago, which is to try to make everybody a better oil field market researcher. Just trying to make me a better one. I don't know. So
there's a certain amount of self-interest in it.
There is. So we're going to open the vault at our firm
Okay.
so that everybody can have access to the majority of things that we do, one of which is these rules of thumb.
There you go.
And we have thousands of them, thousands of data points.
I hope you've chosen a few for us to talk about.
I have picked a few because
Yes.
what is for example, what is the telephone call we get the most? What market segment is the one we get the most telephone calls
Well,
about?
in the past anyway, it has been the frac business. Yes.
It is. And in the future, it will probably also be the frac business, but consider the following rule of thumb.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be helpful if you knew there's various sources out there that can tell you how many frac spreads are working. And that's fine.
Yes.
But what we measure are the markets and dollars related to those things.
Absolutely.
So how about what would be the rule of thumb for the number of dollars generated in revenue that an average frac spread can earn over the course of a quarter?
That would be pretty handy to
And
see.
how's that been trending?
Yes.
So here's what I dip my hand in Missy's rule of thumb bucket for dollars per frac spread per quarter. And in 2019, that number on average was about $17 million per frac crew per quarter.
Okay.
2019.
Right. Okay.
It be the first quarter of 20, about the same.
Okay.
But then look what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It has fallen now to about $12 million per active frac crew per quarter.
17 to 12. Okay.
17 to 12. That's pretty bad. So you know who the best is in the marketplace?
No idea. Who?
The best of the big ones.
Yes.
Liberty.
Right.
Liberty
Okay.
during the same period of time, $23 million a quarter, back in the heady days.
Yeah.
And it's fallen now to about $15 or $16 million a quarter. Still down.
There you go. I'll marry that up with another piece of information that I have, which
Okay,
is that drop in revenue is probably almost always associated with the decline in pricing. Because if you look at the number of frac jobs started per crew per year,
This is another rule of thumb.
Another rule of thumb. It has stayed in the 45 to 50 frac job starts per year per crew. So that number has not changed.
And a
very much.
job would be a well.
A job would be a well. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
All right, so 45 to 50.
So if the activity levels per crew has stayed about the same, but the revenues are down, that tells you where the pricing has gone, right?
Well, it is. There's another thing that's in there because there's always little details.
Yep.
One of those is the removal of sand from the ticket.
Yeah, so
and just buy it separate.
Gets you started on trying to understand what that.
Yeah, but you've got to have a rule of thumb
Yeah.
in order to do it. Here's one.
Yeah.
What would be the little sister of hydraulic fracturing? The related
Well, that
little
would be the
sister.
wireline guys, I would guess.
Well, that's okay. That's one. But what's the other little sister?
Tell me.
Cementing.
Oh, yes, of course.
Also
right.
pump trucks.
Okay, you're right. Yeah.
And you blend, if you will,
Yeah.
dry cement with with water and chemicals. So cementing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. So remember, the big brother there, the frac
Right.
business, has seen discounting
Yes.
in there of a lot. So prices have dropped by 20
So
or 30%.
do you have a revenue figure for the cement guys?
Get this, per cement truck.
Yes.
Again, a year ago, about $750,000 per truck per quarter.
Per quarter. Okay.
These days,
Yeah.
$600,000.
There you go.
Not as bad.
No,
It's
not as-
still a discount,
Right.
but not as bad.
Not as bad
So
as well.
if you had your
Yeah.
choice, which would I rather be in, frac
Okay. Well,
or cement? Would you
back
rather be
to
in?
your earlier question, yes, absolutely. Cement business has something steadier going on because pricing, anyway, isn't subject.
You bet. So as
kind of volatility.
activity rises,
Yep.
the cementing part is going to do better
Right.
of this pressure pumping duo.
Okay.
And here's one more that's related to
Okay.
that whole sector: coiled tubing.
Yes.
So there's little coiled tubing units and big coiled tubing units. I've way oversimplified. And these. So the rule of thumb we've got here is dollars per unit,
Yes.
Per quarter.
Per quarter. Okay.
and it's all over the board.
I bet.
We're only going to talk about the big ones.
Yes.
These are big coiled tubing units that can drill out a bunch of plugs on a newly fracked well.
Long horizontal. Yep.
Back in 2018, 2019,
Yeah.
each one of those big coiled tubing units was about $1.3 million of revenue
Yes.
per quarter.
Right.
These days, it's looking more like 800,000.
Aha. Right.
So I see a discount. So that rule of thumb is the coiled tubing units and those businesses have seen discounting that looked a lot more like hydraulic fracturing
Absolutely. Yes.
than cementing.
Which kind of feels right, given what we know about the pressures in both markets. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah. You know
The
what?
utilization's pressures.
We look at well servicing.
Yes.
And you know what? It's dollars per hour. You look at that one.
Right.
It was $550 per hour in 2019 going into 2020.
Yep.
And then it fell to $450 per hour for these big high spec rigs.
Right.
So there's discounting.
Yes.
But again, not horrid discounting like you see.
Gives
in
us
other
a certain amount of ability to see the sensitivity in pricing going on in by segment out there. Well, that's
Do you have
all
one?
good stuff. Well, I don't have so much one on the service sector side of things, but in this energy transition world we find ourselves in, right? Okay, oil companies under a lot of pressure to clean up their operations and so forth. One of the things that I think companies are going to be reporting on, being asked to report on more often, is how much carbon are they emitting in the course of their operations. Okay, we track.
Depends upon where they ate lunch.
Well, I suppose maybe, but the question becomes, how they often report what their revenues are, what their production numbers are, So I think, there's going to be some pressure to say how much carbon are you emitting, and using that, then what's your carbon per barrel of oil number look like?
Oh, so that's got to be a standard or a rule of thumb.
Right. Yes, exactly. So right now we're just getting to, what's that average out there, right?
So what is that average?
It's about 20 kilograms per barrel of oil. You can tell us that right away that it's the Europeans that have done most of the work here, right? So that.
Thank you, Europeans, for doing that for us.
So it's about 20 kilograms per barrel of oil. Right.
So 45 pounds.
45 pounds in a 55 barrel.
How many stone is that?
Yeah, well, there you go.
About,
thank you. Right.
I don't know.
So there you go. So about 20. But I think we're going to see more of that. And it's going to be interesting to see gas versus oil. I don't know what those numbers are yet, but that's got to be an issue. And heavy oil sands versus light oil operations, things like that.
Okay, so if you're an investor looking at an oil-related company, and you go, all right, my standard I'm looking for, my rule of thumb is 20 kilograms per barrel of oil produced, and he sees that Exxon, for example, is at 30.
Or whatever,
I'm just making that up.
Sure.
That would be bad relative to the standard.
Yeah, well, and here's the other aspect of that, which is I'm 20 today. What am I going to be 5 years from now, right?
Oh, what 19.
Yeah.
Or 4,
right.
or something like that,
something
right?
like that, yeah. So I think it's going to allow us to measure progress against targets. Yeah. So I think that's going to be something we all need to become a little bit more aware of, or we're certainly going to hear a lot more about it. And so we're trying to get ahead of the curve on this particular point to the extent we can.
Okay, here's one for you.
Yeah.
International offshore things.
Yes.
International offshore construction, where you use a big vessel.
Yes.
International offshore, where you use a supply vessel. So you got crane barges, you got construction things, you got supply vessels.
Understand.
And international and offshore has also suffered from an activity slowdown.
Yes.
When you look at the price per offshore construction vessel or offshore supply vessel, what would you guess that the price of those vessels per day or dollars generated per vessel per quarter is done?
So I look pretty bad, but I'm just guessing based on what I think I've heard from the offshore drilling guys. So down 50%.
Get this, it's been pretty flat.
Get out of here, really? Huh.
And I don't know why.
Yeah.
But now that I've got this, it's in the database.
Sure, right.
I'm going, well, how did that happen? Because I expected there to be...
The game's afoot, as it were.
That's right. I've got some... Missy, get to work on this.
Okay, I know that you're going to tease us or going to give us a puzzler in just a minute.
I am.
But before we do, and since you've been talking about the offshore sector, I've got a question for you. This will sort of set that up.
Make it hard.
It's all, of course, oil field related. But what country is the largest oil producer in the European Union? Now that Britain has exited the EU, what country is the largest oil producer in the European Union? Everybody at home can start thinking
so
about
I know
this
that Norway is not in the
European
Union.
Very good.
Switzerland is not in the European Union, so I have to eliminate all their oil production.
Yeah, that's all it. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be Spain, France, Portugal.
You don't have to list all of them.
Italy.
Yeah. Take a stab.
Germany. God, is Denmark in there?
Denmark is an EU country. Yes.
I'm going to go. Oh, dang it! I'm going to go with Denmark.
Denmark is right.
Oh, ding, 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 ding! Because they've got these funny chalk-related
that's right.
carbonate fields.
We tend to we think of the North Sea, and it's always Norway, Britain, Netherlands.
Copenhagen.
So congratulations.
Copenhagen for me.
So you passed my puzzler for the week. Tell us what yours will be.
All right. The puzzler this week delves back into family lore of my wife's family.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
So we just finished the month of February.
Yes.
Here we are in March. And whenever I'm in February, I think of my wife's grandmother.
Okay.
And her name was Minnie Mahalia McCracken Koch. And she was born in the very late 1800s.
Okay.
Little town in northern Arkansas. And to be specific, she was born in 1896.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Just a little fact.
Minnie Mahalia.
When I turned 30 years old, Grandmother Koch was at my birthday party. And during my birthday party, Grandmother Koch turned to me and she said, she had a little voice. You know, I had my first birthday in 1904. And I was thinking that the old lady had finally lost her mind.
Yes.
And so I gently reminded her that she was born in 1896. And she smiled and she said, "Oh, dearie, of course I know that. I had my first birthday in 1904.
Okay, yes.
And I looked at my wife for help.
Yes.
And she simply nodded her head and said, "Grandmother Coke is telling the truth."
Okay, gotcha. Right.
All right, so this is the puzzler.
What's your puzzler?
So if you think you know the date of Grandmother Coke's birthday,
yes.
email us here at drilldownshow@gmail.com.
Yes.
And on next week's show, we will read the correct answer selected at random from the thousands of answers that I'm sure that we will receive.
There you go. Absolutely good. Okay. And send them a birthday cake, no doubt.
That's right.
Well, wonderful. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to that answer. Next week, we'll be back here to tell everybody. And in the meantime, hope you're having a good week. Thanks so much for listening to us. This has been The Drill Down. I'm John Spears.
And I'm Richard Spears.